Good evening, Misfits. You are tuning into the Misfit Athletics 23.3 Breakdown Podcast. Guess what? We want your questions. We want this to be interactive. So make sure you, Ted, is it Facebook and YouTube? Facebook and YouTube. Just drop the questions in the chat on Facebook or YouTube, and we will end this episode answering your questions after we hopefully cover some of them on our own. You know what? Going through the Open, this stuff gets announced, and I think to myself, thank God I go to a Team Misfit gym, because the movements that are programmed actually get programmed on Team Misfit. It's one of those things where the being able to write a really good program for an affiliate, to have that really awesome experience in class, but then also not having your members hate you every year in February is really important. So you can head to teammisfit.com and get signed up. You can head to the Sugar WOD Marketplace and get 2 weeks for free. It's just the time of year. I'm reminded every single year as we come back around. We also have the coaching resources to get you guys better at teaching these things. I know at a lot of gyms, you know, that passionate gym owner, they open up. And then as we get into the higher skilled stuff, it can be a bit of a challenge. So we like to make sure that we pay attention and award that passion that you have and give you some extra
tips. We also have a Discord channel too. So if there's something you're looking for and want more information on, that's a great place to reach out to us. I think it's just the discord.gg/teammisfit. I don't know, Ted, you have to set me straight on that. I'm not. So what? Invite only? All right, so maybe Hunter will like...
When you get signed up.
Yeah.
Yes, when you get signed up.
It's available.
Hunter will decide. But it's a great place to get, information, or if you have questions about programming, if you want to get more nerdy with it, we love to talk programming, so it's a great place to head to.
Calling all teens and masters. You guys are in a really unique situation right now. You're in the Open, but then you have this chunk of time where you are either trying to get your mind right, get your body right, get prepped for quarterfinals and or semifinals. With the way that the season is set up this year, we had to really kind of split off from our normal programming and get the teens and masters started on quarterfinals and semifinals prep. That actually starts Monday. MisfitAthletics.com, again, 2-week free trial. So if you're just like, I want to see what this is like, we offer a week in advance of programming. It's a really good time to jump in. It's a really good community. It is the most podiums that we've had at any of our, sort of cohorts of athletes over the years. So teens and masters, quarterfinals, semifinals prep starts Monday, March 6th, which is obviously just right around the corner. And one awesome thing about signing up for any of this stuff that we're talking about with teens and masters, if you're open quarterfinals athlete, if you're a semifinals athlete, is we are now giving you a free fitter membership when you sign up at misfitathletics.com. So
get me fitter for free?
Sign up. Damn, I got to sign up.
I got to sign up too.
Head to misfitathletics.com and you will automatically get a free fitter account. So that's leaderboards. It does percentages for you. There's all kinds of awesome features on there. And it's been a long time coming getting a single leaderboard for everybody at misfitathletics.com. Last but not least, we are going to read off the top 20 Misfit women, top 20 Misfit men through 23.2. This list is from using the hashtag WeAreMisfit, WeAreMisfit, at games.crossfit.com in your profile. If you have not put your name in yet, but want to be entered into the drawing to win some free shit for 23.3, you can still do that. We're going to shoot a recap podcast next week and read those names off and give some free stuff. So, top 20 Misfit women through 23.2. Caroline Spencer, Shaylin Laurie, McKenna Enslin, Paige Semenza, Alexis Johnson, Jenna Michelotti, Lindsay Hoffman, Lizzie Bell Bruno, Natalie Jennings, Delia Moises. It says Deliza, but I don't think that's right. Cassidy Lane, Sophia Shaft, Ashley Michael, Taylor Quigg, Rachel Skinner, Danielle Sakala, Adrienne Wings, not sure, Nicole Dubois, Julie Pettit Lane, and Britta Dahlberg. There are a bunch of athletes on here that
Team Misfit gym.
only follow
Misfits.
Team Misfit affiliate programming.
That's pretty cool.
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Cool.
You can head to teammisfit.com with the Sugar WOD Marketplace. All right, Sherb.
All right, shaking the baggie.
This is the first time.
I asked Jen this week to go with a bag instead of a cup because I couldn't fit my hand inside the cup last week. So
we know you're more
Thankfully,
skilled with a plastic bag.
I spent a lot of time with a plastic bag in my day. I won't say why.
Brownies?
Yes, brownies. Congratulations, Rachel Skinner.
Rachel Skinner, please email Jen, Jenn, at misfitathletics.com. Let her know your sizes, where you live. We will get a gear pack out to you. All right. Top 20 Misfit men. Luka Jukic, Austin Spencer, Brad Miller, Anthony Como, Ross Bradley, Michael Olivas, Tyler Lordich, Kyle Clark, Kyle Moline, George Regas, Alex Carrillo, Mike Kern, Mark Tabaka, Darren Diaz, Dylan Weil, Ryan Breitag, Tristan Jones, Shane Lloyd, Taylor Aitken, and Tony Greco.
Hey,
remote coaching client. You can apply for remote coaching at misfitathletics.com.
Hammered last
All right,
one.
There's
Hunter.
quite a few of those.
All right, here we
on
go.
there. I win? Oh, wait, he didn't say my name.
Jeez. You cheating?
My name's you grab.
Many as I want. Castle, what do we got, kid?
I saw Tony Greco, but he threw it
Say
away.
Brad Miller.
Brad Miller. Same instructions. Please email Jen,
Castle, what are you doing over here
Jenn, at
naked, kid?
misfitathletics.com. Let
collar
her
on.
know
See
your
that?
size. He does look naked without the collar. Let her know your sizes. Let her know where you live so we can get a gear pack out to you. Awesome job, men and women, everybody else on the list. Thank you for everybody using the hashtag. And if you haven't done it yet, you follow
Not too
Misfit
late.
Athletics and you're watching this.
One more week.
One more week. All right,
gone.
gents. 23.3. It's a pretty cool workout.
Yeah, it was fun. Had a good time.
Initial thoughts and time machine. How did you feel about the workout doing it? If you did it again, would you change anything?
I thought at first it'd be a little bit more pressed to get to the 9 and 12 minute mark. The way that it was kind of announced had me feeling like, all right, it's going to be a pretty tall ask to get to those things, and kind of one of those workouts where, like, you know, you play along for the open part with the first 6 minutes, and then maybe if you're fit enough, you can squeak your way into the 9 minutes. So my initial impression was like, it's not a ton of work, but if you're frantic or something goes wrong or your heart rate's too high, maybe you can't get there, and all of a sudden you're stuck. It was a pleasant surprise to find out that wasn't the case. And I think something we'll talk about in the podcast here is like how important it is to be under control in the beginning. And if I could, do it all over again based on just how it went, is that I'd try to be a little bit quicker with the barbell potentially on the 135 and 185 to give myself a chance to get closer to finishing. But overall, I was pretty happy with how that went.
I think the only thing I would change is more like just specific to me personally is that I would have actually done a 205 snatch between 185 and 225. We were talking about it before, and I would have been like,
during the
workout.
okay.
Yeah,
I
knew. Well, I was also kind of curious. I didn't really I didn't really time anything out. I just knew I was going to be like, okay, you're either going to be pressed to finish 185. Like I knew I was going to look at the clock and have an idea of how long I had to do 9 reps and do the kind of the math in my head to see how quickly I needed to. And then, however much time I had at 225, I had a finite number of attempts, but I told, I think Eric was doing my bar. And I didn't tell him to, and he put the weights on. He did exactly what he was supposed to. But I would have actually done a 20, attempted 205, just because I knew how heavy. We were talking about it before. Historically, the first couple of years they made those workouts where it was like a 95, 135, 185. I remember thinking like that jump from 135 to 185 was really big, and now that's not as much of an issue anymore. But for me, 185 to 225 is that like all of a sudden we're like 75 to 90%, and that's a really big jump. And I said, hey, I might actually do a 205, like 1 rep at 205, so that I get a better feel for that. And if I were going to redo it, I would probably do that.
Goal number 1 of Operation 21-15-9 was Sherb beating Hunter in the Open. So just a little, Ted probably hit a button for a noise over there.
Probably booing.
Boo! How does it feel, Sherb? You're the champion.
Oh, man, long time coming. To thank my fans. No, honestly, I just think it's akin to, trying to set a goal this year of being
so funny if he was muting your mic right now.
more competitive. And, having it pay off. Like, I definitely think there were moments in the Open where that delt came in, and I think that happens to all of us all the time when we're training here, is that, like, either one workout doesn't go the way you wanted to, or, we get done the very first Open workout and we look at our scores and we're like, sick. We did this like a couple weeks ago and we both did significantly worse. Or then going into week 2 and, set up with a burpee pull up and it not going as fast and getting lapped by Hunter like 8 times. It was like a little bit of confidence shatterer early on. But, thankfully you were able to come in on Sunday last week to do the a 23.2 A and B again. And it was just nice to kind of have that be like what jump started me again into getting performance I got today. Cause I really do think last Sunday, this, 5 days ago, really set the tone for how this workout went, because it was just like, there's no point in like dwelling on the poor performance you had the first time. It doesn't fucking matter. It's over. Like, what's the point? It doesn't hold any value to keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
So put that behind you. And I would, I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't nervous going into the second attempt on Sunday, but I was just like, fuck, I know what I have to do, and I have to try to do it this time and see what happens. And did perform worse on the thruster afterwards, and I was disappointed about that, but it didn't end up mattering as much because overall it ended up being a significantly better placement in the world, which I think just helped reset the mindset going into this week. And then, I did have a little bit of the nervous energy going into the workout. I don't like jump rope. It's one of those things, for whatever reason, I still haven't figured out how to be calm and relaxed, but I thought I did a really good job of that relative to myself today. And that helped inspire confidence throughout the rest of the workout.
Did you trip up at all?
One time.
Once?
On the last barbell, before I went to the last barbell, I did like 7 double unders and then finished with 43. And Xander actually scared me in the first 10. When he screamed 10 for the first 10, like,
I almost yelled at him.
stopped.
I was counting basically for myself. I was like, Mark, I'll count for myself. Tell me if I'm fucked up. And my double unders have always been slower than yours, and I just hear Xander just 10, 20. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I like almost spun and turned and looked at him and like, shut the fuck up, and spun back.
When he yelled 10 the first time, I literally almost like, I was jumping, so I couldn't jump anymore. But I was like, oh, okay, we're doing something here.
So very important segue here. And I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to this. This happens a bit more for you guys with these workouts. Like that first attempt, we're throwing you into it. We got the Instagram live. It's versus each other. There's no way for you guys not to sort of run on a little bit more of that adrenaline, which can be a bit of an issue especially when it comes to an open workout. So I thought today was really unique, especially with you and potentially with you. Sherb's body language when he knows he's got to quote unquote go there in this atmosphere, I typically start to see it break down quicker than if I walked into the gym and he was doing a real nasty piece. There's just a little bit of a different thing there. So him and I talked a lot before this workout about this workout starts for you at 20 strict handstand push-ups. Mm-hmm. And if you show up in the wrong way to that, it's going to be a problem. I was like, even though I'm telling you right now that you need to slow down, I'm going to have to tell you during the workout.
Yeah.
Like to slow down. Now, what was interesting was it's still power snatch, double under, wall walk. Like you're not going to avoid your heart rate going up within that. It's just about staying smooth. I could see you breathing heavy, but it was the first time in the open where you were breathing that heavy and you were still carrying yourself like, I'm going to fucking crush this workout. So when you're thinking through a workout like this, so much of it is that mental side. And I always want, as a coach, physical proof for the athlete to connect the dot to the mental side. He needed to go through that on his own. And now we can say, when we go into quarterfinals, remember that? Okay, we got to be smooth here because you're going to be a lot more fit. Like if you had rushed that and thought that the workout was going to hurt a ton, you would have tripped up a bunch on your double unders. You wouldn't have want to pick the barbell up, like that sort of thing. So I just think it's really important for people to understand it's not just, we don't want you in this workout shot out of a cannon. It's your mindset. It's your body language. It's the way that you carry yourself through that, where you don't give your body this crazy stress response where it's going to jump 10, 15, 20 beats on its own without you even, sort of bringing that heat.
It's funny you say that too, because I'm thinking back to like last week's workout, 3, 2, 1, go. Hunter takes off, runs across the gym, starts doing those burpee pull-ups. And I remember being at like 3 and I already hear his judge counting like 1 for his first shot. And I was like, what the fuck? We started this workout 8 seconds ago. How am I already far behind? And that can already begin to build panic in an athlete. And all of a sudden, when I personally go to that place, it's really hard to then like reset on the fly. Like the only thing that would do it for me would be stopping the clock, stopping the camera and being like, can we try again in 15 minutes? Which obviously we're not going to do while we're doing that live. So
piss off.
Basically, Ted told me to fuck off. So that wouldn't happen. But, I think that's the beauty of potentially having gone through that now, is being able to recognize that in order for you to make a change on the fly or learning how to adapt when that does happen to you, you have to experience it and you have to recognize it and then be like, all right, what is different about this workout where I did panic and I couldn't fix it versus the second time where I did panic and then I was like, oh, I'm actually like fine. Because like in this workout today, I didn't feel super panicky, but like 3, 2, 1, go. We both dropped down into wall walks. We both do our first one. and I'm waiting for his judge to count too, because I know how fast he has at it. And he and I were basically like rep for rep on the wall walk. And I was like, all right, this is the tempo for the workout. And I don't know if he was trying to do me a favor with this pacing, or I was just like, you know, if he's not going yet and he's better at these, I should not be going yet. So I almost basically, when I saw your hands move, I started
we
going.
were basically tied through the 135 bar. I was a little bit quicker than you, and then
you were ahead for a while. I think right around like the 10 rep mark is right around where I like ended up tying you, or maybe being 1 rep behind, because I think we got to the wall for the 20 handstand push-ups at almost the exact same time.
And this is the kind of workout too where you're winning if you're losing.
Yeah.
You guys were trying to be like, no, you go.
Yeah, I think at that point we were both like doing the right thing for us, like whether or not the strict handstand push-ups, like however quickly those went for each of us, it didn't. I think at that point we both knew like it became a different workout for both of us. It was like damage control, or like just kind of prepping to hopefully snatch 225 for me, versus like being composed enough to have enough time to hopefully get at least a couple reps for him. So
yeah, and we got a really unique open announcement in terms of how the workout was executed and what certain movements looked like. Obviously, Mal, you guys didn't watch it, but she annihilated the workout.
What was her time?
Like 8 minutes.
Ooh,
pretty quick.
But when you're watching live, you make assumptions about the workout. I assumed that if they played it cool, it would be pretty easy to kick up and do those handstand push-ups for them in 2 or 3 sets. Be my guess, somewhere in that range. Now, when they kicked up, some of the positions that they were in, something that we really harp on at Misfit Athletics, is being able to sort of create that single solid unit and move through space. They were in some more broken positions and doing a bit more of the like press back and then head dive through. And, we talk about it all the time. There are movement, these weird movement quirks and nuances that you need to go to when something's strict. Sometimes you're legless with the swing, this type of strict handstand push-up that I'm referencing, but we got to train it the other way year round. And if we can move the right way within the workout, we need to start that way. And they were just I really think that Mal doing the style of strict handstand push-up that we teach, that's like a 7-minute workout. Like, because I just expected her, with her size and her capacity and how amazing she is at basically everything, that she was going to kick upside down and go, Caroline Connors mode, basically. So when that happened, it was like, okay, now am I going to watch, like, what are these guys going to do? How bad is it going to be? Like, is it really that bad to do the wall walks? And then, man, I'm not overthinking it as a coach. The double unders are going to start to fry out the shoulders, and no matter what, you got to do the power snatches. And when you guys started doing handstand push-ups, it was like, oh, okay, this is what I thought it was before the workout started.
Yeah, I don't think, and maybe it's probably, I mean, there's obviously a difference there when she's going substantially faster than we are, like the fatigue setting in and whatnot, but I don't think, like, I didn't view it as like, oh, my shoulders are fucked. Like, I didn't think there was no rep number that was so egregious that was like, wow, this is the point where my shoulders are going to be the limiting factor. It was, for me, it was the barbell. I'm sure other people have, it'll be the case for the gymnastics, but like the total volume is nothing egregious.
I had thought back to the last year's quarterfinals when they had that like laughable set of 10 strict handstand push-ups at the end of that workout, and everyone quickly realized that wasn't a laughable set at all. I mean, the best people in the world
laughable for different reasons.
We're laughable for different reasons. But I did have a little bit of that worry, like, oh, maybe the wall walks will add up a bit. Maybe the power snatch time and retention will cause those handstand push-ups to be hard.
But not enough reps.
But when we kicked up, we both, I think, knocked out somewhere around 7 to 10 reps, and it was like, oh, we're good. This will be okay now. Like, we can't waste time here, and we still have to move really well.
They were a little harder than I like. Like, it's like, okay, you've used your shoulders so far in this workout, but it was like, all right, so I'm going to do a couple sets of 3s and 4s with a little bit of rest. And it's like, it's still only 20.
But what you guys are saying is you're doubling down on that opening strategy being something where, because the separator in this workout is for most athletes, the strict handstand push-ups. Sure. Maybe as you trend back more towards the quarterfinals only athlete, we got to talk a bit more about the barbell, which we will do. But for high level athletes, this is a strict handstand push-up workout, and there's just kind of these weird chunks where it's enough for it to be a problem. And you showing up there and crushing that movement is much more important, because who's gonna, We're not going to rest on the double unders. Even if you go slow on the wall walks, they're not going to take you very long. And if you're doing singles, we're talking about a couple seconds extra here and there with the power snatch, as opposed to I can't do these strict handstand push-ups.
Sure.
And we could be taking 10 seconds of rest, something in that range. So hearing you guys say that makes me want to double down on that idea. And you know, I've been texting with athletes, and it's the same advice that's just skewed a little bit differently based on the skill level in general. You know, are they a CrossFit Games athlete? Are they, you know, just, you know, trying to make it to quarterfinals, whatever it is. And it's not that it's skewed just a little. Cause like, if I tell you what I said to you was, you want to work out today, this is the affiliate workout, but you feel like absolute dog shit and you're just going to go in and you're going to get it done. That's the kind of pace. Now, if you're fitter, that pace is faster than yours, mine, whatever. The fitter you are, the faster a little slower
Your lazy
is.
paces.
Exactly. So I think that really does hold some weight when it comes to this. This would have to be like the wheelhouse of all wheelhouse workouts for you to go watch this and you start doing crazy wall walks and, you know, more touch and go snatches.
Yeah, I just see the athlete that would tend to get caught in that trap is the same athlete that's hands on knees at the barbell or stuck at the wall later in the workout, because they, again, don't take in the totality of the entire workout, and it just ends up adding up. Because it's not, I think the entire workout's 290 reps or something like that total across 12 minutes. That's not a crazy in terms of like cycle rate for movements. So like basically it makes no sense to be super.
And the double unders cheat.
Yeah, it's adding 200 reps to that workout. I mean, outside of that, it's like a 90 rep workout for the entire thing.
I think even like the fastest time in the world that we'll still see like a very just consistent like smoothness from the beginning to the end. It's not going to be like, I'm going to go as fast as I can.
Because it'd be weird to bury yourself and then like drop the barbell by accident or something like that. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So to sort of quickly go movement by movement, we've got a movement tip video that will be coming out within a few hours after the podcast, something like that. But we can give you the Cliff's notes on that. The warm-up is already up on Instagram, so you can head to Instagram and check out our warm-up. But when it comes to the wall walks, said it in the video, just a little counterintuitive. Be slow and relaxed. Also be fast, because time under tension matters. And it's a lot more to me about the mindset and the body language of being smooth. You're not rushing them. This isn't, you know, one of the Misfit Athletics skill pieces where we're saying get as many as you can in 30 seconds and you just go crazy. So you want to be really smooth there. And then, you know, we have a video about this with our common gymnastics faults already on our YouTube channel, but just the idea that it's a lot easier when we have access to shoulder mobility to use bigger steps than it is to. The problem is we see so many athletes at the affiliate level get just out in front of that tape line and it gets ugly. Gets really ugly. When we are, you know, sort of reaching out in front here like we would be early on in a wall walk, and then maybe even more importantly, still a bit of a pike position so that lumbar spine isn't messed up, which can make it a lot harder for that overhead mobility. We really have access to movement. Whereas when we get into a strict handstand, it would be like a coach having you do nose and toes and kicking up and being like, closer, closer, closer. That is really challenging for any athlete. Just depends on, you know, what your mobility looks like in terms of distance from the wall. So that's really important there.
I was going to say, one thing to add on that, if you're not following what Drew was saying, my favorite affiliate level cue is just keep your ribcage tucked. We talk about doing hollow body holds. We do an accessory work all the time. That ribcage tuck position will allow you to close the gap so that your ribcage isn't the thing that's coming in between your hands getting the tape and you getting to the standard. It's ribcage down. Make sure that as you move that way, that the ribcage doesn't become the obstacle you have to try to accomplish getting too closer, and that's the thing that's running into the wall over and over again. So just stay tight with your midline and try to focus on those steps being, you know, large for you and consistent.
Yeah, the hips sagging or being basically in a perfect straight line are what's going to make that most challenging. A lot of people don't realize that it's the entirety of the spine. So yes, in the thoracic spine, when we are trying to move our arms, that's going to be the limiting factor. But then in the lumbar spine, which would cause you to break in the middle, we want to be in a bit more of a pike position. So if you are basically hands on the ground, feet up on the wall, and we're, you know, kind of a drooping canopy, or even in like a perfect gymnastics line, it's going to be more challenging to keep that rib cage down.
Like just put yourself in a hollow rock on the ground and then take a picture and rotate yourself until your hands are on the ground and your feet are on the wall, and that's the position you kind of want to be in.
Yep. Absolutely. Double unders,
Should have had more of them, really.
Yeah.
What?
100 between each.
600, I think. 600 between each.
I don't want Boz to hear you.
Sure. This is the Open. There was comments in the Instagram live. Beefy set of 50.
Yes. That was a monumental set.
Beefy set.
That was monumental.
Tripped up fewer times than I did. So
monumental.
Stay relaxed in your double unders. Yes. Really the only thing that we can put out into the universe. The heavier this barbell is for you, the more skilled or mobility issues that you have in terms of what the handstand push-ups do to your upper body, the more you're going to want to, shrink your neck and use your arms and let your hands rise. And we've talked about it every week, so why don't we talk about it again? Buddy system, having somebody else there that's telling you to relax early on in the workout, and then also late in the workout telling you to relax with your double unders specifically.
I said to Sherb for affiliates too, and I mean really applies to anybody, especially with such a small number of total double unders. If you're that person who, regardless of the tip that we're telling you, ends up in that position or ends up frantic or it jacks your heart rate up, I don't think there's anything wrong with stopping, like doing 20-20-10 or something like that. Absolutely on the jump rope with a quick rest to keep your heart rate under control, your shoulders kind of down and relaxed a little bit. Obviously the fittest, that's not an issue, but for a lot of folks who get really nervous or jacked up with the double unders, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't know either.
The first barbell we are looking for in the range of, for most of the people listening to this podcast, 2 to 4 sets is what I would call it. You're 10 and 5, you're 11 and 4, something like that.
Remember that you rated 95 with singles
years ago? Was like, what the fuck is?
I remember going to the podcast.
I irate that was on his goddamn Instagram. He's just like Misfit Athletics Instagram. Hunter and
coaches
doing
singles.
These fucking dildos are doing. Sorry, live.
But yes, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing there is just making sure your heart rate stays under control. Because again, if you finish that first barbell and you can't breathe, how do you think wall walks and double unders in the next round are going to go?
Yeah. So again, we're looking for that. What I told Sherb as he opened was do less than 10 and then split whatever you have left into 2 sets. Go into 4 sets. At this point, the descending rep scheme versus the even, it doesn't really matter. What we are trying to do is intentionally slow you down and remind you that we are saving what's happening, sort of for something else. Yeah. We've already addressed the strict handstand push-ups a little bit here, but in terms of strategy itself,
can we just back up 1 second, just to the power snatch? And again, I don't know this is for most people who are looking to go beyond the Open and going to quarterfinals, semifinals, but I think it's something we should address is that if you are one of those athletes that follows along, maybe you're more of a hatchet level and you're looking to get to 135 and see how far you can get. You might have noticed in the live stream that Hunter and I probably skipped our hip or did some kind of what we'd call lazy, fast power snatch or touch and go reps. If that's not your bag and you're going to be struggling with that 135 bar to cycle that thing, you need to move with intention on 95 pounds to set yourself up to be able to move well at 135. And that's something I would think about, at some point in the workout, you had to go to a squat snatch. I unintentionally went to a squat snatch, probably not on purpose, at the barbell kind of pushed me down there. But when you're getting to that point in the workout where the next barbell is going to be the big reach for you, you have to think about how you're moving as you go into that first barbell, the one before it, so that you're primed and ready to be able to move that next one. I know you might have been getting there with the 135 and the 185 or 185.
Well, it's an important point because a lot of the tips that we are giving might just slide down a barbell for you. So pay attention to the totality and ask yourself, what is this barbell for me? To stay on the power snatch before we go back to the strict handstand push-ups, the 135 barbell for most is going to be singles, and I want athletes, no matter how strong you are, to pay attention to the fact that we can basically pop the hip and then drop under the barbell and catch in that quarter squat. Once it's caught, of course, time under tension matters, and we got to stand up and, get the thing out of our hands. But that position is much easier than too much of a muscle snatch or, sort of swinging it out around. It might seem like because you're supporting that barbell up overhead in that quarter squat that it matters, but I promise you that it doesn't. It would be a very unique scenario for that to be the case. So we really want to see athletes, sort of pop the hip, use the lower half, and then just fall underneath the barbell. We don't need a big active pull when it's at this point. Strict handstand push-ups, we've covered, asking people to really think about the way that I like to explain it best is the idea of connective tissue. We've got this fascia that basically turns us into a single muscle within our body, the way that it connects larger muscle groups together. And if I think about that when I'm doing a strict gymnastics movement, how fast I move, how easy they are completely changes. So within this, for me, it typically starts with pulling that toe forward, getting into that, really cranking the ankle a little bit. And then that allows me to think about extending my knee hard, squeezing my glutes. And then basically if I do that, the rest is going to take care of itself. And I can be in a straight line close to the wall and moving fast through space using my pressing muscles. If you really watch with the new standard, when your hands are wide, and you think about, compared to a barbell, the range of motion that you have, it is much less. So let's get those done. Let's get the time under tension down. Let's crank those bad boys out. Depending on who you are and what time is left on the clock, of course, this changes. If you're trying to get that first set done underneath that 9-minute time cap, and you got to take a chance towards the end, it is what it is. Yeah. You're just trying to get as many reps as possible. That's fairly intuitive. I think everybody would be there. But if you've got 6 left and you're grinding and you're like, 6 is my max set right now, or 7 is my max set right now, and it's your first set of 20, we want those broken up. I want you to be smart about that. We want you to kick up and say, okay, whatever, 3 and 3 is super easy. Good. Because, you had gone to doubles in your second set and then we're able to go back to a triple to finish, which saves a lot of time. You kick down towards the end of a workout, heart rate's high, shoulders are burning. That can be a bit of an issue.
Sort of the same thing we talked about with the muscle ups in week 1. Like, do you want to be able to have 1 set left? If you potentially reach a little bit at some point in that workout, you save yourself 1 extra set, which is another 5 to 10 second break that you want for that barbell at the very end. So instead of not having time for that buzzer beater last snatch, you now have that time and you don't feel rushed. The only thing I was going to add to that is that, the handstand push-up standard, they changed it quite often. This is, version 12.9. I don't know. It's been a lot of different standards.
I can't wait to see what it is next year.
But
tall guy me like.
Exactly. As a taller athlete with the 40
short guy you like.
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna be upset about this because again, with that 30-inch tape line, as long as you're touching
that
the
box
tape,
sucked for taller people.
And then the forearm thing wasn't great either. But like that tape line that you have this year, if you're a tall athlete, use that width to your, advantage. And again, as long as some of your hand on each side is touching that tape, you're in the good standard there. And part of the standard there is to keep you kind of playing by the rules. Use that to your advantage there. If you're a tall guy, go to the very limits of that tape. And even if you're a short athlete, try to go to the limits of that tape, unless it's going to create unnatural movement for you, where now all of a sudden, maybe something's, I don't know how it would be, but internally rotated or just unnatural for you. But that wide handstand push-up ability allows you to potentially do fewer sets than maybe you've been practicing. Because a lot of us, when we train, go back to last year's standard and go, all right, last year's a 40-inch box. Here's where my hands had to be. Well, if you got small hands versus big hands, things change from where your hands could be. So now with that nice wide width, if you're an athlete that is looking to get lots of handstand push-ups done and you can go as wide as possible there, I would advise you to do that because it's going to shorten the range of motion and make that movement easier for you.
As we get into the 185 and 225 barbells, it's very personalized. But we've sort of covered already, dropping under the barbell, making sure you get a good hip extension so that we are using the lower half a little bit more. For a lot of athletes, that will also apply to the 185. Hunter actually can power snatch 185, but he he doesn't love it, and he thought it would be cooler if he did 45 snatches. It was kind of cool.
Thanks.
I thought you were fucked. I'm not going to lie. I thought that because squat, snatch, handstand, push-up is not a fun combination.
A lot more time.
That is not a fun combination.
Yeah.
You don't seem to care. Congratulations. but I thought
That's
you were
every
going to.
time the barbell shows up, it's 185 or heavier. So I got a squat snatch. It just takes me too long to do. Then my
No, but I mean, you
shoulders
didn't
feel
seem to
great.
care when you got to the handstand push-ups.
No, I mean,
Were they
Yeah, I
easier
don't know.
when you kicked up than you thought they were going to be? Or did you just know?
they were what I thought they were going to be. I think I've done.
Danny Green.
I think I've done. Well, I've done.
now.
I guess I've just done enough handstand push-up. One, just handstand push-ups in general, and shoulder, like the muscle overload feel, like that shoulder stamina type thing. Just that always shows up in the open. Always shows up in at some level of kind of the competitive season. And I don't know. I think I also like knew that was going to be the case. Like it was everything that I had to do was preparation to make sure I had enough time and energy and potentially shoulder stability to snatch 185. And there was almost no circumstance that I'm not going to be able to do 20 strict handstand push-ups in 3 minutes. You know, let's say I hit my last snatch at the 9-minute mark. There's no circumstance that, almost none.
You would need to be in a really rough place.
Be in
for
a
that to be
really
the case.
really tough shape to be
You got to
in
do
that
5,000 chest to bar pull-ups before
So-
you start.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can power snatch it consistently and it doesn't it's just faster for me. Like you said, I can power snatch 185.
I was joking, but I'm glad that you can.
I
I meant you could have done it the whole time.
Oh, no, I don't think I could have.
You can't do that.
No, I am capable of power
Where's Cody?
snatching
We need him.
185. I don't know that I could have power snatch. If that said power snatch, I don't know that I would have gone slower.
Yeah.
I could
You would be
squat
fine. You
snatch
can do it.
faster. I think luckily my fitness allows me to.
Well, that's
it doesn't take as much out of me per rep.
I'll say that's what you decided to do. You realized the energy costs of doing a power snatch was significantly more,
Yeah.
and how much time you would need in between didn't make sense, and you're confident in the bottom of your overhead
Probably gonna
squat.
catch, I was probably going to catch it weird and my shoulders probably would have been in worse shape if I had tried to power snatch those, because I would have
Step forward.
internally rotated, walked all over the floor, and I just know from experience due to lack of strength that you have to compensate elsewhere.
We're going to address the heavy barbell. You guys are going to pretend that you don't know what I'm talking about, and you
Okay.
tell me if it makes sense as an outside viewer.
To pretend?
Got it.
Oh, you have to pretend?
Yeah.
All right,
at
if
least
you
I'm half time.
understand, we're good. No. All right. So when we are talking about the squat snatch, we typically look at athletes from the perspectives of them being either a leverage lifter, typically someone taller with longer limbs, or someone who, the funny thing is we don't even really have a name for the other one. We just talk about the Chinese national weightlifting team because they're so amazing at that technique.
Real snappy.
Very snappy. So if you are a taller athlete and you do rely on leverage, that would mean that you really get out over the barbell. So there's a really, aggressive angle between your legs and your torso, and you use the whip of your torso coming up. Potentially your power position, your shoulders are in front of the bar. You're thinking about hip contact a little bit more, that sort of thing. That style of snatching is not advantageous in a Metcon as reps pile up. Now, if you're strong as fuck, congratulations, do whatever you want. If 225 is either heavy because you've gotten there so quickly or because it's heavy, let's talk a little bit about how someone would achieve the snappy version, somebody who's relying a little bit more on positioning in terms of power position and what I would basically like to call Metcon power position. Does that make sense thus far?
I'm
Definitely.
tracking. Yeah, I'm tracking.
Okay.
I think about I'm going to put this out there in the world. I think about this as opposed to like leverage versus the other one. I think of it more as like, you prefer the slow lifts versus the fast lifts. Like you're somebody who's more comfortable, like moving heavy, like a heavy load slower, and therefore like require more. It's almost like a split jerk. Somebody who dips a little bit lower, I consider more like of a strength based athlete versus somebody who's got a really sharp dip drive and that snappy punch under.
Yep.
So if you're somebody who is maybe more keen on the slow lifts or the power lifts, maybe that's kind of how I compare like that person to the leverage based lifter versus somebody who's like, why is my squat clean like the same as my front squat or like close to my back squat or something like that, where that person is more likely to like the snappier lifts, the Olympic lifts. So that's how I kind of think about it. But yes, it makes sense to me as an outsider.
The thing that comes to mind when I hear this is something I talk about with athletes is that when we're trying to accomplish an Olympic lift, or honestly, any lift, the straightest point between 2 points is a straight line. So the more horizontal, I said that wrong, but the
straightest point between two points is a straight line.
Yeah.
Straightest,
Someone said
They know what you mean. They're tracking.
Yeah. So you guys tracking, following along. But essentially, the more horizontal displacement you create with that leverage, the potential more trouble you can get in this. So like, if you're a tall leverage-based lifter like I would be, I consider myself someone who does get way out of the barbell. There's more of a chance of that barbell to get displaced this direction away from my body, which means the bar has to travel farther per rep than someone who's a bit squattier. So I think what you're getting at here is how can we get someone to be a bit more efficient?
Yes,
to reduce
I am going to get to that.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So
that's where
now
my
that
mind
you
was.
know what I'm talking about, we're talking about what we're looking for when we go moderate to heavy squat snatch, power snatch within a CrossFit Metcon. Easiest way to find out where you should end up is to have a snatch grip, stand all the way up, and then with your shoulders still behind the barbell, push your knees out and bend them. That is the Metcon power position that we are looking for. You are clearly arriving at that position, shoulders behind, knees in front and out prior to getting aggressive and having an extension. What does that allow? That allows a vertical, like absurdly vertical extension. And if my torso is going straight up, we can start talking about horizontal displacement. Congratulations on the point between 2 points and then saying horizontal displacement. So if your torso is vertical and then you extend vertical and you drop vertical, we don't have to worry about stepping all around the gym. We don't have to worry about a lot of the things that can make a snatch challenging under fatigue. So from a full weightlifting standpoint, when we're in the bottom position, our butt is going to start lower. Our knees are going to push out to the side more. And then at that low hang, we still have leverage. We're still out over the barbell, but your knees are really pushed out. A lot of the way that you get your knees out of the way of the barbell is to push them out. And again, if you're passing the knees and they're way out, it's so much easier to get right to power position. It's going to happen naturally. All of that being said, hopefully that all makes sense. Hopefully you can work this into your warm-up and use it in the workout. Don't rip the bar off the floor if it's heavy for you. Like you're all deadlifting whatever, twice as much.
300 pounds more.
Yeah, exactly. If this deadlift's 50%, I don't want to hear it at all that you need to yank the thing off the floor. One of the best cues, and I wish I could give him credit, and I can't think of what his name is right now. I'll think about it next time. Yep, it's definitely Sherb. You're Sherber Hunter. One of the best cues I've heard in a while is the barbell feels super heavy at the low hang, and the coach says, let it feel heavy. Who cares? And I was just like imagine just saying, okay, to the athlete and helping them get over it that way, as opposed to how do we make it not feel heavy, which it's going to feel heavy off the floor. We want to get into a really awesome position before extension to make it much, much, much easier. And the way to fuck that up is to yank it off the floor, early arm bend, all that stuff.
Well, it's funny you say that. I wouldn't, let's say the video that we just shot of us doing the workout would reflect that, but that's something I was thinking about as I was getting ready to do after the first rep. Got the one out of the way for the jitters. Was like, man, get to the right position. If you can get back to your power position with your heels remotely near the floor, you can probably snatch.
Was it because I said what the fuck was that?
I think so. I mean, I also did that. My first one, whoa, what movement did I just do? I don't think it's a snatch.
I was wondering if Sherb was going to hit it, and I was like, yo.
They were, the last two were like a coin flip, whether or not that was.
Give him credit, though. If you jump 18 feet backwards and still almost hit it, not bad.
That was pretty good. I saw Sherb's traps from the front. It's like, what the fuck is happening?
But that is something that, if you're someone that is going to be in this workout and going to a barbell, maybe isn't a gimme for you every single time. If you think about things like having a mantra, like knees out, get to your waist, and then jump, like little things like that, like we talk about with like the toes or the bar muscle up, like see your feet before you throw your hips, kind of thing. Those type of cues, if you can stay in the workout and be composed enough to think about that stuff, will set you up to be a little bit more relaxed, which means you can rely on the things that you've trained year round and will allow you to default to the good positions we practice all year round, even though you are super fatigued. Because again, just gripping and ripping it might feel like the right play when you're super tired and your adrenaline's pumping, but more often than not, that leads to more horizontal displacement. No, it just leads to more.
Point between 2 points is a point.
Point. Just leads to more franticness and just essentially makes your movement sloppy and doesn't allow you to rely on all the training you've put in throughout the year. So again, if you have something that you have to think about to get yourself to do it correctly, it's worth having that extra second, extra deep breath to be like, all right, get back to power. And if that's the thing that gets you there, it makes the snatch easier. Use that to your advantage.
We get a lot of new listeners this time of year. I'm going to talk to the Misfits directly right now. You guys do a lot of strict handstand push-ups. It's kind of fun to like bro out on Misfit sets and have you opened with 12s, you fucking loser, or what'd you get in your max set? We do a lot of strict handstand push-ups and we do a lot of positional work. You guys are set up for success within this workout, and just try to think about, carrying the right body language, the right mindset through it. And you're probably going to do a lot better than you think you are. I think it's a pretty cool workout.
That's fun. It's
interesting to finish without like being socked in the face. But I also don't think that we should be able to guess exactly what's coming based on the way that they sort of presented what CrossFit is supposed to be originally.
You guys believe it? We didn't end with thrusters. It's like the first year ever we didn't do thrusters in the last workout.
Quarterfinalists are fucked.
You think there's going to be a pain train in there?
Yeah, 100%. You're going
to get socked in the head in 2 weeks.
You guys are going to get kicked.
You want to know what? That's actually a perfect segue. So we talked a little bit about, or I did 2 minutes ago, about how there's a lot of new listeners right now. Quarterfinals content this year is going to be at misfitathletics.com if you have a membership. Now, 2-week free trial. But we are going to shoot for quarterfinals a quick hitter about the information we think you need to know to get started right away. And we'll throw that up somewhere, Instagram, somewhere where you can go get started. But then we're going to get to work on our end, going super in depth on what we think needs to happen within workouts. And as we get closer and closer to the CrossFit Games, I'm like, I ain't showing shit to anybody that doesn't follow Misfit Athletics.
Yeah.
So if you'd like the content during the Open and you want to see what that looks like, misfitathletics.com, you can get signed up for a 2-week free trial. And if you're a teens or a masters athlete, I would get signed up right away so you can check out that stuff. There's an entire podcast on it too. So if you're on the fence and you're wondering about that, we go in depth on how we peak an athlete, what it looks like, the difference between if you're only trying to get to quarterfinals, semifinals, all that good stuff. And you're probably already on our YouTube channel, and you can find the Teens and Masters podcast.
Questions? Anything come through?
We've got a few questions.
Nice. Great.
Let's see. Seamus Keating, who we met at camp.
Seamus, what's up? Did you eat that thumb tape yet?
He actually said on
Discord.
He said on the live that his thumb tape was going to taste really good after this one, which I thought was a very weird thing to say.
I don't know.
I'll give you guys context later. I'll fill you guys in.
Seamus asks, how much of a difference did the new handstand push-up standard make?
I wouldn't say it's a total game changer, but if you're someone that is taller, again, that's what you was making a joke about on the podcast. If you're a little bit taller and you struggle with that 40-inch box, it's a little bit easier. But
for stricties too, my goodness.
I think the only, ultimately the only difference is that you are being dictated how far away from the wall you can be.
That's also
because
new.
the 30-inch, like previously it's been a 36-inch box. Like pretty much everybody's hands are wider than 3 inches, right? Unless you've got smaller hands. And if you got smaller hands,
Jen, where's that tape?
Shorter. Fuck. Anyway, for the most part, that width is still going to accommodate pretty much everybody, like the width that everybody has been training, unless you've been like egregiously wide or narrow for whatever reason. It's more that you are now dictated how far away from the wall. And you can obviously still get away like a little ways off the wall depending on how kind of like long your hand is. But I don't think... It depends. If you do handstand push-ups with your hands 1.5 feet off the wall, you might be in trouble. If it's like you do that because
YouTube.com/Misfit Athletics.
So many videos on keeping yourself close enough to the wall to keep that vertical position. But otherwise, like the 30-inch line is effectively the box. Is just a little bit more flexibility as far as judging goes, I would guess.
I'd like to thank Boz for forcing everyone to get a little closer to the wall, something we've been trying to do for years, and now it's forced.
I like it.
Okay. Thomas Sally asks, if you're unsure of making it out of the 135 snatches, how hot do we need to start to have a chance?
Hot. I mean, it's a quick little burner for you.
Yeah.
There's enough skill involved. I even mean with the double unders that you need to stay calm, but it's quicker. Probably transitions matter definitely more. But yeah, if we wrote this as a 2-round, type of Metcon, you got to go.
I would say this too. If you're a little worried about that, Tom, what you could do too is you could potentially go through like 6 snatches and see how long it takes you, and then kind of do the math and be like, all right, if I have to do twice this amount, how long do I need to have when I get there? And then try a practice round before you officially do it and be like, all right, like this is how much time I need to have at the 135 bar to finish this thing to give myself a good chance. And then you have a little bit more information. Maybe you don't need to do the whole workout, but you could at least time out what 6 snatches took you. Maybe you do a little bike sprint before, so you're a little feeling kind of tired before you go. And then you have a little bit more of that like athlete IQ of like, all right, one 135 snatch every 7 seconds allows me to do this in how long? And now I have that answer. And then you're not trying to guess, and you're not going too fast early on and making it so you're like, do blow yourself up and not having the fitness to necessarily be able to move that barbell at that speed when you're that tired.
While we're talking about the snatches and Sherb, I think you might have touched on this a little bit, but from Seamus again, does it make sense to do your last couple snatches at the 135 or 185 as squat snatches if you know your next bar is definitely going to be a squat snatch?
I would say if you don't do that in your warm up before you turn the clock on, that you should be considering that in the last couple just so you're ready. I don't think you need to do like the last 8, but like 1 or 2 at the end of that might allow you to be ready to do that when you go into it. Because I don't think for some athletes, the idea of like pulling the barbell super high for a power snatch and then pulling under for a squat snatch feels like totally foreign or totally different ideas, even though truthfully, the power snatch is just an accessory movement for the squat snatch. I would consider doing at least one of those before moving on to the last one, if that is going to be a sticking point for you.
I don't disagree with that. I would say it's more important that you are power snatching the same way that you are going to squat snatch at the weights that you're going to do that.
Yep.
I mean, I've done that. I've done that version like what, a long time ago when some of those weights were a little bit heavier, where you do like the last rep as a squat rep. But if you warm, like if that's the case, you need to warm up that movement pattern in your warm up, and your power snatches need to look the exact same as your squat snatch, except how low you catch the bar.
I ain't touching a squat snatch for free. I'm just throwing that out there.
I love me a squat snatch. Should have been all squat snatches. That would be more fun.
Agreed. What's a squat?
This looks like it's the last question. I don't think this is their real name, but it's Glue Sniffer. Sure, they related to you?
Yeah, one of my relatives.
Sure,
Thanks for getting on the podcast.
For tips for Misfit
You think it's Ricky?
It's Ricky.
How many reps do you think you'll need to be in the 90th percentile?
Gonna need at least, I would say,
a handful of 185?
A handful, 5 at 185.
Yeah, I think a
5
handful
in
of
that
185.
middle bar. I think women will do. Oh, actually, I don't know. It'll be similar.
It's gonna be
handstand push up.
I'm just gonna
at
throw
the highest level. Women will go faster, and for most of us, I think it'll be similar. And I'm just
gonna throw it out there. There's gonna be a shitload of people that do not get 20 handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
Before 9 minutes. There's gonna be a lot of people who are fit that just don't like doing strict handstand push-ups.
I like to think back to 2017 when they had that chest to bar squat snatch where it was like you had to do like 11 reps at. You had to do 2 rounds of one way and then 2 rounds of the other. And as you went through it, was fewer chest to bar or more chest to bar pull-ups, but fewer snatch reps. And it went up from like 95 to 265. And that year we're like, oh man, anyone going to regionals is going to be able to snatch 245. And like one snatch at 225 that year was good enough to go to regionals. It's going to be an interesting thing because it's a difference between doing one snatch and being able to hit that barbell repeatedly, which is going to be a huge separator. There are going to be plenty of people who are very, very strong, but as soon as you sprinkle in a little bit of heavy breathing and shoulder fatigue, can't move that barbell as consistently. So I do think there are going to be a lot of people who do get stuck at the handstand push-ups and then potentially are trying to sneak out like 1 or 2 at 185. Or
that's where my mind goes, playing with the 185 barbell.
Fewer?
I think
we saw, I mean, the I don't remember who, maybe Morning Chalk Up, someone said basically you needed a 185 thruster to be in the top 10%. So I guess maybe you only need one squat snatch.
I do think that those handstand push-ups are going to mess with some people.
My finger is not
like
on the pulse of
the
10th. That cut line.
Yeah, there will be a lot. Yeah, there will be a lot of people who are racing.
My guess
to
is
have
one
enough time.
snatch at the 3rd barbell. That's my guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, thank goodness I got it, and you just like ghost ride the barbell, walk out of the gym, never come back, that doesn't make like a whole lot of sense. You're still going to get as many as possible.
Richard Nixon.
So if more people are getting through it, snatch the bar as many times as you can.
Pro tip. You should snatch
try as many as you can.
That hard hitter.
As many reps as you can in that time.
A comment came through, and it's not really a question. And
Well, I like them.
it's kind of
Send it.
It's a little
Risque?
upsetting. It's not risque, but I think it would be valuable just to see what you guys' general opinion on like
Cracker Barrel.
these
These grits and gravy.
These workouts as a test on the whole. This person thinks, Martin says, this is a workout for the quarters, not for the open. The problem is more than half of the registered athletes will be frustrated. I'll do it on my own, but as a sign of protest, I won't enter my score.
Ooh, interesting. Bold strategy. I think the point of it is the ascending nature. It is very, very much okay to do wall walk, double under, power snatch at a moderate weight. And I also think that if those movements are really challenging for you, that your heart rate's going to get up in those 6 minutes. You're sort of fighting to get that done. So it does tick over to much, much, much harder very quickly. But at the same time, I don't know. There's just this vibe of, we're going to do a full open recap next week, but there's this vibe of before, oh, it's so boring, basically from everyone. And now that it's not boring, it's too much. You know what I mean? So like,
personally, I think it's cool that they have that barbell at the stage that everyone can play at because, you know, Isabel's been a CrossFit benchmark since, I don't know, 2001.
Do you think that's the reference more?
Well, no, so here's where I was going.
It could be.
If that is the case and you're like, all right, that barbell feels like a bit of a reach, you know, the hope is that you've been doing your homework, you've been training really hard, you can get through that 135-pound barbell. How many people are going to get their first strict handstand push-up in this workout? And I think we can save more going too far in the weeds on this for the next podcast. But like one of the things I've seen, a pattern I'm seeing is that there's a lot about like getting your first kind of thing in this year. I see that happening for a lot of athletes and like being able to get your first strict handstand push-up or your first set of 5 strict handstand push-ups or even be able to go on and potentially hitting your first 185-pound snatch. It feels like there's a little bit of that essence in the open this year. It's like, we'll let everyone participate, but at some point there'll be separators for people who are in different tiers of athletes. And what's really cool is that most of these workouts, you're participating for like 75% of the workout before that happens. Where in years past, like referencing that chest to bar the snatch workout, it was 95, 135, 185. And at that point where you're at 185, you've already done like 75 chest to bar pull-ups and you have to snatch that barbell in a squat snatch. They mandated it that year. So like part of me thinks that like this is a good test because it lets everyone play for a lot of it. But then there is that point where it's like, all right, like we're trying to make sure the right people go to these next stages of competition, and here's that separator, and good luck to you.
Was the barbell specified in the comment? It was just general test. Yeah, I mean, you could, if that comment came through in the first open workout, it's like, great, the second movement is 50 toes to bar. Like how many athletes does that seriously isolate? How many athletes do the muscle up seriously isolate? And I think that all of the tests were programmed well enough, again, to say like, hey, here are some opportunities for everybody to play, test yourself. Like none of those barbell weights are anything that we haven't seen before. They have benchmark kind of vibes to them, and like there's precedence is what I mean for the movements, and like it hits the box of like inclusive for everybody, like, and ultimately like this is the first stage in finding the fittest people on earth. And there has to be like people who, as the competition gets more, I guess as the field increases, like every year we're going to see like, it's going to be more difficult. Like I would predict in a couple years, like we're actually going to be way more in tune with what the top 10% for quarterfinals is. Still more at the affiliate athlete, not as much for CrossFit Games and semifinal athletes, but it will be more difficult to get to the quarterfinals level. And it's important that people who are working hard for that have the opportunity to showcase their work. And then for affiliate athletes who are just getting into it, or like you said, maybe looking for their first, they have that opportunity, and all those are presented. So
that's actually a really interesting point, that like, what is top 10%? We're still in the like infancy stages of these tests being done this way. Like, I don't want to go too far because, again, we can save it for next week's podcast, but that is an interesting point. Like, what does the top 10% actually look like? And like years ago, it was, am I a regionals athlete? I'm pretty fit in my gym. I beat everybody at every workout. Am I regionals caliber? Do the open? Maybe I'm not, kind of thing. And figuring out what that is. And like sort of creating that regionals atmosphere at a place where they're not forced to spend, CrossFit's not forced to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to host these events. Now
they're back to that, but yeah.
But yeah. So anyways, I think we should save it for next week, but that is an interesting point of like, we don't actually truly, I think, have a full picture of what top 10%
I mean,
really means
you could
yet.
argue all three of these workouts were like, these aren't inclusive enough. It's like, I can't do a toes to bar. It's like, okay, I can't do a jumping strict pull. Like I can't pull myself up over the bar. It's like, but there's a line somewhere. Yes.
But one of the greatest things that ever happened at our affiliate is removing the stigma of scaling and personalizing a workout. And we have some people next door that take the scaled leaderboard very seriously, and watching them obliterate themselves on that. Those are really good workouts.
Yeah.
Those are really good workouts. So if you're like, that the ego keeps you teetering on that line a little bit too much, find a partner that does the scaled version and do that. It's a really good workout. There's like removing that stigma is one of the best things that you can do if you're in a position now where you're like, man, I would really love to participate and get the juice from the open and then go back to work afterwards. So
the people who usually get their firsts and stuff like that, or do like better than they thought they were, are more often than not the people who scaled affiliate, like our workouts at the affiliate level, because we told them that it's better to haze yourself with the scaled version than to get stuck at the handstand push-up wall every time they get programmed. So
hard.
Join Misfit Gym Portland. We'll help you out.
Yeah. Move to Portland, Maine. I think that's about it.
See you guys.
Show
after
sponsors.
Quarterfinals.
I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to explain all of the ingredients in proper recover. All right, so you want to do this workout twice, right? You do the workout the first time.
You ain't talking to me.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not?
Let's say you did.
Okay, we'll say it.
Yep. Let's say you did.
Yep.
Added shoulder fatigue of being a hardo and doing squat snatches, right? So what do we need? What do we need? Normally, when you blast your upper body, we are looking at somewhere from 48 to 72 hours to completely repair tissues.
Okay.
We don't have time for that shit, right? Muscle protein synthesis is aided by whey protein. Fantastic. One of the main reasons it is because there is a high leucine content in whey protein. We say not enough.
Leucine.
We say not enough. We add more. Okay. So we got whey protein, we got leucine. Another thing that traditional, lifting communities will use is the fact that when you're done lifting, your tissues continue to break down. And then if you wait 3 days, you get jacked. Fuck that. We don't want that. Okay. We want to introduce the carbohydrate immediately and shut down your body doing that, breaking down muscle tissue. In this instance specifically, the more volume you do, the more often you need to go in and shut that down. We don't need a ton of carbs. We are looking for an insulin response, whey protein, a little bit of carbohydrates. That stops it. Okay. Then we go into that muscle protein synthesis. Once you get done your workout, if you are overheating, you cannot digest it. It's no good. One of the best ways to prevent overheating, 16 ounces of water and some sodium. You mix your protein shake. The sodium's already in there.
Pink salt.
Boom. You're good to go. And then you're like, this all sounds fantastic. Whey doesn't agree with me. Yeah, it does. Proper Recover has digestive enzymes in it to help with digestion of whey and all that good stuff. There's also creatine and fenugreek extract in there. That is also going to help with muscle protein synthesis and ushering carbs into your muscle cells.
Damn, that sounds good to me.
Damn, that sounds good. You can head to properfuel.co, use the code word MISFIT to save. We have an upcoming quarterfinals-ish-esque release coming to sharpentheaxeco.com. Use your favorite athlete code there. And we've been talking about it the entire podcast. Team Misfit of the Sugar WOD Marketplace for your affiliate programming. MisfitAthletics.com, 2-week free trial. It's been fun. We'll see you next week for the recap, and good luck on 23.3.